starting with the name of Allah, who is most merciful and gracious. This is part 2 of our explainer on modified atomic habits, the 4 laws of behavior change. Welcome back. Tonight, we continue our gentle journey into how our minds work. Relax your mind, let go of the day, and listen closely. Do you know how a habit actually forms in your brain?
It's based on a really simple experiment from 1898. A psychologist named Edward Thorndike put cats in a puzzle box. The cats could escape by pressing a lever. At first, they just moved around randomly. Then, by accident, they pressed the lever and escaped. Thorndike tracked how long it took each cat to escape. In the beginning, it took over a minute. By the end, the cat could escape in just a few seconds. The cat had learned. Thorndike made an important discovery. Behaviors that produce satisfying consequences tend to be repeated. Behaviors that produce unpleasant consequences are avoided. It sounds obvious, right? But it's the foundation for everything we know about habits.
Now here's how this works in your brain. Every habit follows a 4-step pattern. First, the cue. That's the trigger that tells your brain to start a behavior. It's a bit of information that predicts a reward. Second, the craving. The desire or motivation to change your internal state. You see, you don't crave the habit itself. You crave the feeling it delivers. You don't crave a cigarette. You crave the relief it provides. You don't want to check social media. You want to feel connected. Third, the response. The actual habit you perform. The thought or action you take. And fourth, the reward. The satisfying feeling that completes the cycle. Rewards teach your brain which actions are worth remembering. This is what scientists call the habit loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. Over and over again.
Based on this 4-step process, the book introduces 4 laws of behavior change. The first law, make it obvious. If you want to build a good habit, make the cues visible and clear. The second law, make it attractive. If you want to build a good habit, make the craving compelling. The third law, make it easy. If you want to build a good habit, make the response simple to do. And the fourth law, make it satisfying. If you want to build a good habit, make the reward immediate and pleasurable. And if you want to break a bad habit, just reverse each law. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying.
Let's explore the first law, make it obvious. Let me tell you a fascinating story. A paramedic went to a family gathering. When she arrived, she looked at her father-in-law and felt deeply concerned. "I don't like the way you look," she said. Her father-in-law was feeling perfectly fine. He jokingly replied, "Well, I don't like your looks either." "No," she insisted. "You need to go to the hospital, now." A few hours later, he was having life-saving surgery. An examination revealed a blockage to a major artery. He was at immediate risk of a heart attack. Without her intuition, he would have died. So what did she see? Well, when major arteries are blocked, the body sends blood to critical organs and away from the surface of the skin. This causes a subtle change in the face. After years of working with heart patients, the paramedic had unknowingly developed the ability to recognize this pattern. She couldn't explain what she noticed in his face, but she knew something was wrong.
This happens in other fields too. Military analysts can identify enemy missiles on radar screens, even when they look exactly like friendly planes. Museum curators can spot fake art instantly, even though they can't explain how. Radiologists can see signs of a stroke before any obvious symptoms appear. The human brain is a beautiful prediction machine designed by the creator. It's continuously analyzing your surroundings. With enough practice, you pick up on cues without even thinking. This is what makes habits useful. And this is exactly what makes them dangerous. Because once a habit becomes automatic, you stop paying attention to it. You don't notice what you're doing. You fall into old patterns before you realize what's happening. To fix this, you need to become aware of your habits. Psychologist Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Here's a simple exercise you can do. It's called the habit scorecard. Make a list of everything you do in a typical day. Wake up, check your phone, take a shower, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, work, check social media, go to sleep. Then, ask yourself, is this a good habit, a bad habit, or a neutral habit? Now here's the really important part. The labels good habit and bad habit are slightly inaccurate. There are no good habits or bad habits. There are only effective habits. Effective at solving problems. All habits serve you in some way, even the bad ones. That's why you repeat them. Smoking might reduce stress right now. That's how it's serving you. But it's not a healthy long-term behavior. The question you should ask is, does this behavior help me become the type of person I wish to be? Does this habit cast a vote for or against my desired identity? In 2001, researchers in Great Britain conducted an interesting study. They divided 248 people into 3 groups to build better exercise habits. The first group simply tracked how often they exercised. The second group was given motivational material about the benefits of exercise. The third group was asked to fill out this sentence. During the next week, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on day, at time, in place. The results were striking.
In the first and second groups, 35 to 38% exercised at least once per week. In the third group, 91% exercised at least once per week, more than double.
The difference was a simple plan, what researchers call an implementation intention. The format is, when situation X arises, I will perform response Y. I will meditate for 1 minute at 7 a.m. in my kitchen. I will study Spanish for 20 minutes at 6 p.m. in my bedroom. I will make my partner a cup of tea at 8 a.m. in the kitchen. People often think they lack motivation, but what they really lack is clarity. It's not always obvious when and where to take action. An implementation intention sweeps away the foggy notions and creates a concrete plan of action.
Here's another powerful strategy that builds on this idea. It's called habit stacking. Denis Diderot was a French philosopher who lived his entire life in poverty. But one day in 1765, everything changed. Catherine the Great of Russia heard of his financial troubles and offered to buy his personal library for more than $150,000. Suddenly, Diderot had money. With his new wealth, he bought a beautiful scarlet robe. But the robe was so elegant that it made his other possessions look cheap and out of place. He soon felt the urge to upgrade everything. He replaced his rug. He bought expensive sculptures. He got a new mirror, a better kitchen table, a leather chair. One purchase led to another. This became known as the Diderot effect. Getting something new often creates a spiral of consumption.
Now, here's the smart part. You can use this same chain reaction for good. Habit stacking is the strategy of using the Diderot effect to your advantage. The formula is simple. After current habit, I will new habit. After I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. After I take off my work shoes, I will change into my workout clothes. After I sit down for dinner, I will say one thing I'm grateful for. You see, you're not creating a new habit from scratch. You're attaching it to something you already do. The current habit is the trigger for the new one.
Here's something interesting about environment design. A doctor named Anne Thorndike wanted to improve the eating habits of hospital staff and visitors. She didn't talk to anyone, she didn't give a single presentation, she simply changed the environment. The hospital cafeteria used to have only soda in the refrigerators near the cash registers. She added water to all the locations. She placed bottles of water next to the food stations. Over the next 3 months, soda sales dropped by 11%, water sales increased by 25%. People didn't change their beliefs, they didn't suddenly decide to be healthier. They just chose what was more obvious, what was more convenient. Our behavior is not defined by the objects in our environment, it's defined by our relationship to them. Think about this. One person's couch might be where they read for an hour each night. Another person's couch might be where they watch TV and eat ice cream. Different people can have different habits associated with the same place. The lesson is simple. Design your environment to make good habits obvious. Put your guitar in the middle of the living room if you want to practice more. Place your vitamins next to the faucet on the bathroom counter if you want to remember to take them. Store your phone in another room during work hours if you want to focus.
Now, what about bad habits? How do you break them? Here's something that might surprise you. In 1971, during the Vietnam War, congressmen discovered something shocking. Over 15% of U.S. soldiers stationed in Vietnam were addicted to heroin. Follow-up research revealed that as many as 20% were addicted. The problem was massive. President Nixon created a special office to track addicted service members when they returned home. Everyone expected the addiction to be permanent. Heroin was considered nearly impossible to quit. But researcher Lee Robbins made a remarkable discovery. When the soldiers returned home, only 5% became re-addicted within a year. Just 12% relapsed within 3 years. That means approximately 9 out of 10 soldiers who used heroin in Vietnam eliminated their addiction almost overnight. Why? Because the environment changed completely. In Vietnam, the soldiers were surrounded by cues that triggered heroin use. The constant stress of war, easy access to the drug, friends who were also using, thousands of miles from home. When they returned to the United States, they found themselves in an environment completely free of those triggers. The context changed, and so did the habit. This contradicts a common belief that addiction is a permanent, irreversible condition. But the truth is, our habits are heavily dependent on our environment.
Some people say that self-control is all about willpower. You just need to resist temptation, be stronger, have more discipline. The reality is much more practical. People with high self-control don't necessarily have more willpower than anyone else. They're just better at structuring their lives in a way that doesn't require heroic willpower. They spend less time in tempting situations. It's easier to practice self-restraint when you don't have to use it very often. Once a habit has been formed, it's encoded in your brain. The urge to act can be triggered whenever the environmental cues reappear. This is why simply resisting temptation is often ineffective. The more reliable approach is to reduce exposure to the cues that cause it. If you can't seem to get any work done, leave your phone in another room for a few hours. If you're spending too much money on electronics, quit reading reviews of the latest tech gear. If you're playing too many video games, unplug the console and put it in a closet after each use. Self-control is a short-term strategy, not a long-term one. You may be able to resist temptation once or twice.
but it's unlikely you can summon the willpower to override your desires every single time. The secret to self-control is to make the cues of your good habits obvious and the cues of your bad habits invisible.
Now we move to the second law, make it attractive. Do you know why junk food is so addictive? In the 1940s, a Dutch scientist named Nico Tinbergen did a fascinating experiment with herring gulls. Adult herring gulls have a small red dot on their beak. Newly hatched chicks peck at this spot whenever they want food. Tinbergen made fake cardboard beaks with red dots on them. When he placed the beaks near the nest, the baby gulls pecked away excitedly. The bigger the red dot, the faster they pecked. Eventually, he made a beak with 3 large red dots. The chicks went crazy. They pecked at it like it was the most beautiful thing they'd ever seen.
Scientists call these exaggerated cues supernormal stimuli. They're a heightened version of reality. A beak with 3 red dots, an egg the size of a volleyball, and they elicit a stronger response than the real thing. Now think about modern society. Junk food drives our reward systems into an absolute frenzy. Human beings were naturally created by the Creator to value salt, sugar, and fat, because historically these were rare and calorie-dense. But now, we live in a calorie-rich environment. Food scientists spend millions finding the bliss point for each product. That's the exact combination that excites your brain and keeps you coming back for more. It's the same with social media, online videos, and mobile games. They're all supernormal stimuli. They exaggerate features that are naturally attractive to us, and our instincts just go wild.
Here's something that happens in your brain, a chemical called dopamine. Scientists can track the exact moment you experience a craving. Dopamine is released not only when you experience pleasure, but also when you anticipate it. Gambling addicts have a dopamine spike right before they place a bet, not after they win. Cocaine addicts get a surge of dopamine when they see the powder, not after they take it. It's the anticipation of a reward that gets you to take action. This is exactly why daydreaming about a vacation can be more enjoyable than actually being on vacation. Why thinking about Christmas morning can be better than actually opening the gifts. Scientists call this the difference between wanting and liking. Desire is the engine that drives behavior. Every action is taken because of the anticipation that precedes it. It is the craving that leads to the response.
So, how can you make your habits more attractive? One clever strategy is called temptation bundling. In Ireland, a college student named Ronan Byrne enjoyed watching Netflix. He also knew he should exercise more, so he hacked his stationary bike and connected it to his laptop. He wrote a computer program that would only let Netflix play if he was cycling at a certain speed. If he slowed down, the show paused. He bundled something he wanted to do with something he needed to do, watching movies with exercising. Large companies use this exact same strategy. ABC launched a Thursday night TV lineup and encouraged viewers to drink wine and eat popcorn while watching. They connected the things they needed viewers to do, watch their shows, with activities viewers already wanted to do, like relax, drink wine, and eat popcorn. You can use this too. If you want to check social media but need to exercise more, after I pull out my phone, I will do 10 burpees. After I do 10 burpees, I will check social media. The hope is that eventually you'll look forward to doing the hard thing because it means you get to do the fun thing. In 1965, a Hungarian man named Laszlo Polgar wrote a series of strange letters to a woman named Clara. Laszlo believed that geniuses are made, not born. With deliberate practice and good habits, he felt any child could become a genius. He wanted to test this idea with his own children, and he needed a wife willing to jump on board. Clara agreed. They had 3 daughters, Susan, Sophia, and Judith. Laszlo decided they would play chess. The house was filled with chess books. The children played against each other constantly. They competed in the best tournaments. Their entire lives were dedicated to chess. Susan started playing at age 4. Within 6 months, she was defeating adults. Sophia became a world champion at 14. Judith was the best of all. At 5, she could beat her father. At 12, she was the youngest player ever listed among the top 100 chess players in the world. At 15, she became the youngest grandmaster of all time. When you ask the sisters about their childhood, they say it was enjoyable. They loved playing chess. They couldn't get enough of it. In their world, an obsession with chess was normal.
Humans are social beings. We want to fit in, bond with others, and earn respect. Throughout history, humans have lived in tribes. Being separated from the tribe was a huge risk, and this ancient preference exerts a powerful influence on our modern behavior. We imitate the habits of 3 groups: the close, family, and friends. We copy the way our parents handle arguments, the way our peers flirt, the way our coworkers get results. If your friend becomes obese, your chances of becoming obese increase by 57%. The many, the crowd. In the 1950s, psychologist Solomon Asch conducted a simple experiment. People were asked to match the length of a line. When everyone else gave a wrong answer, 75% of subjects agreed with the wrong answer. They would rather be wrong with the crowd than be right by themselves. The powerful, people with status and prestige. We imitate successful people because we desire success ourselves. If a behavior can get us approval, respect, and praise, we find it attractive. One of the most effective things you can do is join a culture where your desired behavior is normal. If you're surrounded by fit people, working out seems like a common habit. If you're surrounded by readers, reading feels natural. Join a group where your desired behavior is normal and you already have something in common with the group. Nothing sustains motivation better than belonging to the tribe.
Now, some people might hear this and think, so I should just surround myself with people who are like me. I should imitate what the crowd does. But there's a deeper truth here. While good company is powerful, not all crowds are equal. Sometimes the crowd is wrong. Sometimes the crowd is leading people toward bad habits. A wise, intelligent person must use their own judgment. They must stand for the truth, even if the majority is doing the wrong thing. It takes bravery to follow the truth when the crowd is following illusions. And here's something equally important. Some modern trends spread the false idea that traditional marriage is bad, that casual relationships are just as good as marriage. This is not true. Rigorous scientific studies show that while both might give a short-term feeling of happiness, formal marriage provides unique, powerful, and long-lasting benefits. Legal protection, social stability, better health outcomes. True, committed family bonds create the safest, most supportive environment for building good habits.
If you want to break a bad habit, make it unattractive. Here's the key insight. Every behavior has a surface-level craving and a deeper underlying motive. You don't want to check Instagram, you want to connect with others. You don't want to play video games, you want to feel a sense of achievement. Your habits are modern solutions to ancient desires, new versions of old vices. Once you understand this, you can reframe your habits. When you're quitting smoking, you can say, "You think smoking is about relieving stress. It's not. Smoking does not relieve your nerves, it destroys them. You are losing nothing and gaining health, energy, money, confidence, self-respect, freedom, and the length and quality of your future life. By changing the way you predict the outcome, the craving dies."
Here's another example. You don't have to wake up early for work. You get to wake up early. You don't have to exercise. You get to build endurance and get faster. You don't have to cook dinner for your family. You get to care for the people you love. This simple shift changes exactly how you view each event. You transition from seeing behaviors as burdens to seeing them as opportunities.
And there's a practical technique. Create a motivation ritual. Do something you enjoy immediately before a difficult habit. Some athletes have specific pregame rituals. They might stretch the same way every time. Even if they don't feel motivated, the ritual puts them in the right mental state. By the time they're done, they're focused and ready.